Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. I'm super excited to get to talk to you guys about alpine hiking with UTracks, talk about my personal experiences from doing these trips and what we can offer you when you are planning to do them as well. Such an incredible experience, and we're here to make sure that that happens for you. The first thing I will, sorry, just go over is just a quick introduction to who I am. My name is Matthew Thean. As Will said, I am originally from Ireland and I have been living in Canada for 10 years. Hiking has always been a huge part of my life. Although not alpine, I've climbed all the biggest mountains back in Ireland. They're only small compared to the ones in the rest of Europe, but still an accomplishment nonetheless. Um, and then, yes, moved to Canada 10 years ago, where I've had the privilege of living in in Vancouver, where I got to go to Whistler and ski and hike all the Whistler mountains. And then even better is that I got to live in Banff National Park for 2 years, where I just basically spent 2 years hiking through the Canadian Rockies, which was such an incredible experience and something I'm so grateful that I got to do over here. And now I've got to incorporate that love of my life into my job, which is just so incredible. And then we'll just quickly move on then to an introduction of what I plan on going through today. I will briefly touch on our guided and self-guided and what each of those entails, and then I'll go into a bit more detail later. The two hikes that I specifically have done is the Via Alpina in Switzerland and our Pyrenees Circuit hike in the French Pyrenees. So I will be going into a bit more detail about those, but keep in mind that everything I go through there, a lot of the inclusions and the things I'm going to discuss are applicable to all of our tours. So Mont Blanc, the Dolomites, it's the same packages, the same inclusions, the same team you'll be dealing with. So I've just specifically done those two. Um, then we'll go over the important details. So the terrain, what to expect when you're over there, the different kinds of terrain, the difficulty, the inclusions. So what we provide you to make this a successful trip. The gear that we suggest bringing is such a huge, crucial part to having an amazing time. The training you can do beforehand if you aren't the most familiar with multi-day hiking trips. We'll go over some training options, what you can do even if you might not live in a mountainous area. And then I will go over briefly some of our other hikes. So the classic trails like Mont Blanc, Dolomites, and the Bernese Oberland in Switzerland, which are all things that we offer as well. So yes, the first thing I will go over is just our self-guided trips. Um, you will still be fully supported during this. You will have a contact number for our local team, and we will provide you with all the information you need to have a successful trip. So although it is self-guided, it is definitely supported and we will never leave you on your own for this. Just means that you'll be doing it on your own when necessary or with a friend and you won't be a part of a group. And then we also obviously do have those small group options, which are an incredible way to get to meet like-minded people in a small group size. We don't like large groups, especially when you're doing an alpine hike. It's not the same. So we generally cap our groups between about 14 to 16, and that's maximum. So it's a really close group, very social. You get to really know these people and explore the parts of the world together, which is such an amazing experience. Um, we always have extremely well-trained guides who've been doing this for years. They are always local and they're from the area. I know a lot of them have grown up in the areas that they guide in. We don't bring people in, obviously, from, let's say, North America or any other parts. And if they're not from there, they have lived there for a very long period of time. And this is their passion. And I know my colleagues have done these guided tours, and it's definitely reflected when you're on them. And then quickly, like I said, the two tours that I have done, the Via Alpina in Switzerland, as you can see here, it is a part of the Green Route on the Via Alpina. Starts in Meiringen, ends in Lenk. It is an 8-day self-guided hike. We book obviously your accommodations and everything for you, and then you're good to go. And it is the same with our Pyrenees Circuit hike as well. Like I said, with many of our itineraries, it is an 8-day self-guided hike, which I was so lucky to get to do both of these. Um, So they are both self-guided, but we will talk about the guided ones a bit later on in the webinar. So that was just our brief introduction into what we will be going over today. And now we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of exactly what is included when you book through UTracks. So something that's huge and made a huge impact on me when doing these trips was the luggage transfer. Because if you're doing an 8-day self-guided hike, the last thing you want to be doing is lugging around everything you brought with you from the other side of the world each day. So we will cover that for you. And we will pick up your luggage in the morning from your accommodation, and then we will bring it to your next accommodation, and it will magically be in your room or in your hotel reception when you get there later that afternoon or evening. It's such an incredible service, which really just means during the day you have to carry your water, maybe a basic first aid kit, your lunch if needed, some snacks, just the basics. On some of the nights, because of maybe a remote location, you might need to bring your overnight requirements with you, and the luggage transfer will meet you at your next accommodation, which was something I experienced on my trip as well, but it was actually extremely fine. Your overnight requirements is just your toiletries, maybe a pair of slippers for the mountain hut, and what you plan on wearing the next day. Didn't really affect the weight of what you were carrying at all. You just have to bring a few more little things, so just to keep that in mind as well. As you can see in the photo that I'm just circling here, mules are used on our Mont Blanc tours, and which will affect things like, let's say, the weight carry limit, but that will all be shown to you on the tour page if that is the option. Usually we do use vans, so the weight limit is usually between 15 to 20 kilos, so you can usually fit all your stuff in that for the one night. So yeah, that's just a brief introduction to our luggage transfers. The next thing that's obviously extremely important is the accommodation that we use. So the accommodations can be variable on these trips, on our alpine hikes, for many reasons. Some of them are quite remote. So we do use those mountain huts and refugios, which will either be in dormitory style accommodation or else you will maybe have upgraded to a private double room. Both of those options are something that we can run through when you reach out to us to see which works for you, see what we have available. I personally stayed in dorms when I did my Pyrenees hike, and I was fine with it. It's usually just in the most beautiful area in the world, and this is just where you rest your head at night. So although it might be a basic mountain hut, they're honestly just located in the most beautiful areas. And then, like I said, if you do want that little bit of privacy, even in those mountain huts, we do often have the option to upgrade to a private double room. So if you did want that little bit of privacy, it is something we can look into. The next option there we have, as you can see, is our upgraded accommodation. So there are definitely routes that we have. This is from the Via Alpina that I did 2 years ago. This was one of the hotels we stayed at. So it's not like mountain huts are your only option. If you are looking for that more comfortable level of accommodation, we can definitely find an itinerary for you as well. And as much as I love the mountain huts, there was nothing better than coming back to our hotel room like this after a full day of 8-hour hiking in pretty intense elevation. A lot of these hotels as well had things like saunas that you could use afterwards or a hot tub, which was just such an incredible experience. Different to the dormitories that you might see on Mont Blanc, but both of them definitely have their advantages depending on what you're looking for. We're always happy to look into it. And even on some of our itineraries, if we don't have um, an upgrade there, always feel free to reach out and ask, and we will look to see if there is something that we can find for you. We just don't always have a package ready to go, but the team is here to look after those things for you. The next thing that is an incredible benefit of booking with us is your 24/7 support. So not only will you have us here in the Ottawa office or Australia or where you've decided to book, you'll also have the contact number for our local team over there who are there for any questions that you might have while you are there, whether it's to do with the maps, the app, the luggage transfer, the hotel, whatever questions you have, or if you're just a little bit worried about anything, they are always there to help. They are local. Again, they are from the area. They are a wealth of knowledge and always happy to help if there are any questions. when I did my Pyrenees hike, there was a few transfers involved, and it's our guys over there who are doing those transfers too. And he was just such a chatty wealth, like such a wealth of knowledge on the local area, local recommendations, where to get the best wine for the night, where to get the best coffee in the morning. So if you have those transfers, these guys love talking about it. It's their job. They want you to ask these questions and they want to tell you about the local secrets that you can go to. So definitely something to take advantage of while you're over there as well. And then lastly, of course, everything is not everything, I should say, but obviously a lot of things are going digital these days. So we do provide you with your navigational app, which will have all your routes built into it. And there'll also be route books in there. So you'll have like little tips where you should eat for dinner, things like that, points of interest along the route. So not just walking from start to end. We want to make sure that we highlight the points of interest along the route as well. And all that will be in the phone on the app that we provide you, usually about 3 to 4 weeks before you leave. So you've got plenty of time to put it on your phone, learn how it works, call us with any questions. And yeah, then download it all onto your phone beforehand so that you are ready to go when you're over there and everything will be, yeah, on your phone, ready to go. You won't need Wi-Fi or internet. Everything will already be done because, again, these are remote places that might not have Wi-Fi. So we want to make sure that you have this in time to make sure you can do it successfully. A huge, obviously, part of alpine hiking is the terrain that you're going to come across when you're there. So I've tried to take some photos from my trips here just to highlight the differences of terrain that you're going to come across. This first photo here is probably the most common, especially on the Via Alpina in Switzerland. Just compact dirt tracks that we obviously encourage you to stay on. But as you can see from the photo here, unfortunately, that wasn't always an option. The locals can be quite stubborn and won't move, so you kind of got to walk around them a little, give them their safe space and respect that they are there as well. But this is definitely the most common type of terrain you're going to come across. And then, as you can see here, the weather had obviously deteriorated a little as well, but there will be short sections of scrambles and sometimes longer sections of scrambles, which is personally something that I love about hiking alpine. And maybe a little bit of getting dirty, all fours, keeping your balance. And yeah, hopefully you, if that is something that you are going to have to do, you'll have better weather than we did when we got to, as you can see, it was quite cloudy up here when we did reach the top. But then on the other hand, we had this beautiful section in Switzerland, which was on paved roads and the sun was out. But I will say that even though there was paved roads, it was obviously quite quite steep. So the paved road was nice in the fact that your feet were getting a break, but it was definitely still quite the workout. So don't let that deceive you. And then down here, as you can see, it was quite a narrow path, walking along some exposed edges. So just making sure you're comfortable with that, and because there will be parts of the trail that are just that little bit more, you need to take that little bit more caution when you're walking on them. It was still extremely safe when I was there, and it was such an incredible experience, the views around. But obviously, again, just making sure that you're comfortable with that, um, to before signing up for it. I don't have a picture of it here, but I know a lot of people ask about ladders and everything on Mont Blanc, um, which is a possibility on our Mont Blanc tours, but I found that on the other tours that I have done, that that hasn't been an issue. And I know some people aren't a huge fan of ladders, so I just wanted to let you know that it is pretty much just what you're seeing here in front of you when it comes to it. And the next part, which is also extremely important, is the food that will be included on your trip. So these again are just some amateur photos that I have took while I was doing my trips to give an idea of what to expect when you're over there. And breakfasts are usually always included. They come with your room. It'll usually be continental style breakfasts. So you'll get yogurt, cereal, fruit, pastries, definitely enough eggs as well, and protein in the majority of locations. Which is exactly what you need to start these big hiking days. So we're sure to make sure that the places that we've chosen will provide you with that. And then, depending on if you have signed up for one of our upgraded accommodations, as you can see in these photos here, it was such an incredible meal to have after a day of hiking. If it's a meal that we have booked for you, it's usually going to be a three-course meal. So you will get your starter, your main, and your dessert, which again is just such an incredible way to end a difficult hiking day. When you go to the mountain huts, obviously the food may not look just like this. Um, but what I found was it was the heartiest, most filling meals that I've had. They know exactly the kind of clientele who are coming to these places. They know that you've hiked 8 hours, you're going to get 8 hours of sleep, and you're going to go hike another 8 hours, and they make sure you are fueled for that. It was incredible. It was also just such an amazing social experience in the mountain huts. It's often communal tables, so you'll be sitting at the table with other people who are doing maybe different itineraries, different routes, and just sharing stories over dinner. It's an amazing experience, and again, it's what food does. It brings people together, and and when you stay at these mountain huts, you definitely get that feeling of camaraderie of everyone just who's there for the right reasons. And then just quickly wanted to walk through a typical day with some photos to show you what it can look like. So, like I said, you will wake up, you will have breakfast, and you will bring your luggage downstairs so that our luggage guys can come and pick that up for you. Then, after breakfast, really, you're just ready to get going. And if lunch isn't included, what I used to do or what I do is head to the local supermarket, which there usually was in every town, pick up my bread, my salad, dried meats, make my picnic lunch and pack it. And then I would get to stop somewhere along the way in a beautiful spot and have my lunch. But there will always be options to pick up that picnic lunch in town. And if not, of course, we will tell you beforehand. And then sometimes as well, there would be like a mountain hut along the way that not the one you're staying at, but about halfway, which was always often a treat as well to get one of those again hearty meals to get you through the second half of your day. So then another thing when we would be hiking along, obviously we would come across these amazing lakes, whether they were glacier lakes or regular lakes, depended was the what made me decide if I was going to get in or not. These days can be very cold, but as you can see, it was a hot, sunny day, and it was such an incredible experience to get to just go for a quick dip in these lakes. It was freezing, but you get back out 2 seconds later and you're dry within 5 minutes and hot again. So definitely worth doing it. It's a very common thing to do over there. Don't feel shy about doing it. I didn't even have a towel with me, but again, like I said, I was dry again in 2 minutes and highly recommend doing it when you're over there to get the shock value of what it's like to get into water like that, even if it is just for a few seconds. Another thing I loved about the Via Alpina was these little fridge shops, I suppose, that were often along the route around the farms and everything. So you would just everything's technology these days, so you were able to just tap and you were able to buy their local produce straight from the farms themselves, which is just I think it was a really nice way of supporting locals, which is something that I know we're about as well. So it was nice to be able to pick up some cheese and milks that came from the cows themselves. And one of the most important parts of an alpine hike is what you do before it. And training for these trips is so important. And my motto with these trips is always you can never be too fit. The fitter you are, the better time you're going to have. For those steep ascents and everything, yeah, the fitter you can be, the more you're going to enjoy the views, the more you're going to enjoy every aspect of these trips because they are difficult. And they're so rewarding. But of course, you're climbing these mountains and it's a workout. So getting those workouts in before is crucial. So I did come up with just a few little things that I did beforehand, or that I like to do as I am getting myself ready for one of these trips. Um, so again, practice walking on uneven trails, and very important, bringing it back to the terrain I was talking about earlier. So walking around your neighborhood is great, but definitely trying to get into some forests, some just like park runs that like have some loose roots and things like that. Just so you subconsciously become aware of what to look out for, loose rocks and things like that. definitely get used to carrying that backpack with you. Even though it can be light because we're doing the luggage transfer, I definitely suggest putting weight in there. And I would almost say to put maybe more weight in so that it's a treat when you get there, that you don't actually need as much as you thought. So definitely using that backpack. I would try specifically using the backpack that you plan on bringing with you as well. So if you're walking around your local neighborhood and you have your rucksack on, that's just what you got to do to get ready for it. Just getting used to how it works, tying it around your waist and little things like that. Try out your walking poles. I'm new to walking poles. I'll go into that a bit later, but they definitely change the way that you walk and the way that you approach hills and when you're descending specifically. So I would give them a try first, just at least a brief one so you get a feel for it. Of course, your overall fitness is going to have a huge impact on it. Cardio 3 to 5 times per week if you can, even if it's running on a treadmill, running outside, doing the Stairmaster at the gym, which is my least favorite thing to do, but I know it does. I know it does what it needs to. And yeah, keeping that cardio, doing some hit classes at your local gym, maybe if they have classes, are a great way to get 45 minutes to an hour of cardio in. And that will be huge when you're doing these hikes and you're pushing through that last hour, knowing that you can do it. So obviously ascents and descents are just as important as ascents, training for those, and getting those legs strengthened, getting used to those hills. I live in a very flat area. I'm in the Ottawa office in Ontario, Canada, and it's renowned for being a flat area. We do have one little ski hill nearby, which has one black run, so it's extremely steep, but it's just one. But in the summer, what I do is I actually go there and I hike up and down it just over and over again to prepare for my trips because it's the closest hill that I can find to what I'll be experiencing when I'm in Europe. So even if you live in a flat area, there will be hopefully little areas around that you can find, little local spots that you might not have thought of. Like I love telling people that I go to the ski hill in the summer and just walk up and down. They're like, "Oh, we never thought of that." So maybe there's something like that in your area as well that will allow you to get ready for that. Train in all weather. I This is my least favorite training, but it is so important. The weather in alpine hikes can be very touch and go. It can be sunny when you leave in the morning, and by midday, there could be a bit of rain coming your way. So, just getting used to that, wearing your gear, getting used to the feel, getting used to walking in water. At the end of the day, it's just a bit of water. So, although it might not be ideal, it is extremely rewarding, um, and just something that you should definitely maybe try out once or twice. Um, then gear as well. I feel like I'm just saying they're all important, but they really are just all important. As you can see here, I'm going to start it again just in case you missed it. So here we are walking down. Everyone's geared up. They were well prepared. They've got their raincoats on. They've got their hiking poles out. They're taking their time and they have all their layers ready to go. So that is definitely encouraged because who knew? 10 minutes later, it was probably the sunniest it's been in a week after that. It's just so hard to tell. So be prepared for all weather. As you can see from our photo in the middle here, layers are extremely important so that you are ready to just take off and put on what is needed when is needed. Also, you want to obviously make sure it's compact, light, so that you can just put it straight into your backpack, and then when needed, you can get it quickly and put it on when needed. So obviously, packing your bag correctly can be quite important for that as well. If it looks like it's going to rain, make sure you have your rain gear towards the top of your backpack so that you can easily grab it while you grab some shelter and get ready and to keep on going. Um, in our office, I know some gear that people have used in the past is Gore-Tex or Vibram soles are quite good. Personally, a company I found recently is called Darn Tough Socks. On the next page here, you can see some socks. Um, and I never thought socks would make a huge difference to one of my hikes, but I have to say that it was night and day compared to wearing what socks I usually wore than buying Darn Tough socks. A friend recommended them to me, and it was the most incredible thing he's ever done for me. Um, as you can see here again, we've kind of highlighted people's shoes just to show the importance. Make sure you've got that heel support if you need it. especially for those loose rock sections. And that heel support is very important. You obviously can't see their soles here, but Vibram soles are an extremely popular choice, and it makes it a lot easier to walk on those loose rocks. On the left here, we have someone walking with their walking poles and their hat. I will say that hat is very important. Some of these alpine hikes might not have tree cover for a while, so definitely protecting yourself from the elements, protecting yourself from the sun is just as important as protecting yourself from the rain, if not more important. So very smart to bring a hat for those days. Hiking poles are actually something that I only used for the first time this year. I always thought I was fine without them. When I did Switzerland 2 years ago, I didn't have them. And I think that's when I started to realize that maybe that is something I should look into. And so I got them for my trip to the Pyrenees, and it was a game changer. And you can fit them in your checked bag and bring them over. And it was, like I said, a game changer for me. It made it so much easier. I felt so much more secure when I was walking down hills on loose rocks. If you can't bring it over, you can buy some when you're over there, try and sell them before you move on. And then, of course, there is some rental places too that will hopefully be able to accommodate if you weren't able to bring them over on your flight. And then the last picture here is obviously your camel pack for your water. I think that it's just pretty common these days. This is the standard. Instead of having to bring that bottle in and out of your backpack, the camel pack is super important. We will provide you with information depending on the trip that you're doing on the size of the camel pack that you should bring. But I always go larger because I drink so much water. So it is just a guideline. If you like me, drink lots of water and it's going to be hot, you know, adjust accordingly to how you feel. I would usually bring a camel pack and then a bottle of water as well, to make sure that I am fully prepared for the day. So that is the nitty-gritty of this stuff. A lot of what's included. I hope you found the information that you were looking for. I did want to briefly go over then just some fun parts. So my favorite parts of the trips that I've done so far, give you something to look forward to maybe. Some stuff I had already gone through briefly. So for example, top left here, having a swim in these lakes, always highly recommend. On the right, then we have my favorite terrain to walk on and to hike on is these huge rocks where there's a path made for you, and you can see it just coming down here. So although it is on loose rock, it's quite secure, but you just get that rugged feeling that you're really hiking in the mountains, you know. And this photo is from one of the hostels on the French Pyrenees trip. It's called the Esbogettes. And it is anyone who does the trip will stay at this. And it was without doubt the most incredible place I have ever stayed in my life. This is where I decided to read for the night, and it doesn't do it justice like most photos don't. It was just such an incredible place to relax after a day. They had these chairs ready to go, and just sat down with my water and read my book for the evening here and watched the sunset. And then my other favorite thing about these hikes is always being above the clouds. So when it happens, I do love to take photos of it. I think it's an amazing thing to see when you're above the clouds and you can still see the peaks of the mountains. And then you just look up and there's still more to come. And then, as I'm sure you're all aware, this is in France. And obviously France has some big competition when it comes to mountains like Mont Blanc. But something I loved about this was, as you can see, there was very few people on the trails. I know this is only one section of the photo, but you'll just have to take my word for it that it was like that for a lot of it. And although there was people, it was definitely such an incredible experience. You definitely felt like it was sometimes just you out there, which I loved. And then 2 years ago, like I said, I got to do Switzerland, and these are just some highlights from that trip. Obviously, we have some very famous mountains, some lakes. I think it was Lake Oceansea, um, which if you haven't heard of, I couldn't even try to spell it for you. But it was such an incredible lake, and it is. We didn't get into this one, but there was people getting into it, and it was quite cold from what they said. But it was at the end of our day, so we decided to skip that one. You will run into quite a lot of farm animals, which was something I wasn't expecting, but was pleasantly surprised. I don't have it in the photo here, but there was actually some Scottish Highland cows, um, which was awesome. And then, of course, there's the local wildlife that you'll see, marmots, ibex, like the mountain goats. So it was great to see farm animals and the wildlife at the same time. It was quite interesting. And then obviously these few quirky things that I mentioned, these were just some water troughs that were around and that were for hikers and bikers. As you can see, there's a biker back here. And to fill up their water, I just thought that was a really kind of cute way of rather just having a stereotypical water fountain. This is how they did it. Again, the little fridge markets, which allowed us to purchase local product and support the local farmers while we were over there, which is always something I like to do when I'm there. This was the trip that I did the upgraded accommodations on. So this was the view from my balcony for one of the nights. And I just remember thinking how amazing it was. So I wanted to share that. And then there will be a lot of cirques as well, which are just such an amazing thing to see. And then this is just something I threw in at the end because it's such a common question that I get on the phone is when to book. And my answer is always as soon as you know the dates. And it's so important to get your preferred dates in there as soon as possible. As soon as we have them out, we are taking bookings for them from everyone. So if you're waiting for a friend to book and they're humming and hawing, I always just say to pull the trigger and get your friend to maybe that'll light a fire under your friend to get them to book a little bit sooner. But these once in a lifetime opportunities, you don't want to be waiting around for people who can't make their mind up, especially when they are extremely doable. And especially if you do end up going alone, as I have done in the past, like I said, we will provide you with everything you need to have a successful trip, even if you are solo. So have no fear in that. I know not people, everyone loves it, but it is such an incredible experience, and I would highly recommend. And then, as I mentioned earlier, I have done our self-guided hikes, but UTracks offers a huge variety of self-guided and guided hikes. A lot of them are going to be very similar to what I've discussed previously. The inclusions will be similar. The routes will be similar. They're all usually around 8 days, some a little bit more. The difficulty can vary, but the inclusions and everything like that are going to be pretty generic across the board. So if you do choose one of the other ones, it will still be very applicable to what you have seen today on the hikes that I've talked about. And then, as you can see, we do also have all those classic guided hikes, Dolomites, Mont Blanc, the Bernese Oberland in Switzerland, and then Grand Paradiso in Italy. So if you have any questions about those, you can reach out to me, or depending on where you are, reach out to your applicable office. They will be happy to help. And if you are in North America and Canada, I've put my direct email there, so feel free to just reach out to me directly. Let me know you watched the webinar. I would love to know that that's where you got my contact information from. But again, if you're watching this on repeat and you're in Australia or New Zealand, or in Europe, these are the people to reach out to. And they've also done a lot of these trips, so they will be more than happy to help you planning your trip as well. So thank you, everyone. I hope that was informative for you and that you learned something. And yes, thank you for listening.
Matt, I think you're as out of breath as the breathtaking views in the
Oh
mountains,
my
I think.
God. I know.
No,
Yeah.
thank you. I found that very, very, all your personal advice really is so helpful for anyone considering an alpine hike. I
Mhm.
myself, I've done the Mont Blanc guided hike, and can attest to how totally spectacular that hike is as well. And I think what you were saying earlier about how all the hikes, whether it's self-guided or guided, they always run the same sort of way, and that sort of the
Mhm.
same learnings that you've just explained can be applied to any itinerary that we do. So really, really
Absolutely.
helpful stuff. Now, for everyone listening, if you have any questions that you'd like to ask myself or Matthew, please feel free to pop them at the bottom of your screen. There's a little chat box, and you can ask anything you'd like to, and we can try our best to answer it. I do have one from Anthony already. Um, they've asked if it's possible to do what's it like for a solo traveler?
Yeah. Solo traveler I would highly recommend everyone do a solo trip. Um, Once in their life, especially in some of these areas, it's incredible. I understand it can be a bit intimidating, but like I said earlier, we're there 100% to support you. you have us, you have our local team. The maps, the apps, everything will be there for you. Some of these routes are also just extremely well signposted because that's what people used to do back in the day as well. And they didn't have these apps, so definitely doable, definitely recommended. As I said, if you're staying in these mountain huts, you're going to meet so many people who are doing this solo as well, who will just love to sit down and chat about their experiences. It's what I found. The mountain huts are quite good at sitting you at tables of other people who speak the same language or if they're traveling solo. And yeah, it was great. I met some amazing people doing it solo and would highly recommend it for everyone. It's nothing that
Yes.
anyone should be afraid of doing.
Yes, I joined my Mont Blanc guided trip as a solo hiker, and
Okay.
yeah, it's the group dynamics is such that it's very welcoming, and you're
Mhm.
palling it with lots of new friends. So, really do recommend it. And I guess the other thing with joining a because they're dormitory style, there's single supplements for solo travelers aren't as
Mm.
there. Yeah,
Yeah, so obviously when you're doing certain hikes and not alpine hikes, for example, and you're staying in hotels, there will often be single supplements applied, which can add quite a bit to your reservation. Obviously, if you're staying in dorms or doing a guided hike, um, those don't apply. So it's a great opportunity to get to see those mountains while saving a bit of money as well.
yeah. Fantastic. Thank you. We've got Kate. She's asking for a bit more information on the Dolomites and Mont Blanc, which we didn't specifically touch on in this one, but there actually are lots of other resources. I'll take this question. There are lots
Mm.
of other resources available. So if you go to our website or get in touch with one of the local offices, we can send you films. We've got professionally filmed videos on Mont Blanc and the Dolomites, which give you probably the best sort of insights into what it's actually like on tour. There's also specific webinars on the Mont Blanc, and we've got lots and lots of traveler tales from written experiences from people who've actually done those trips. So a real wealth of resources, plus a lot of the other staff have actually done these trips as well. So yeah, highly
Yeah,
recommend
absolutely.
watching those videos.
And if that was Kate, I'm not sure if it was you I was talking to during the week. I think you have my email, and if not, it was in that contact screen I can go back to. If you want to reach out to me directly, I'm more than happy to send you those webinars that my colleagues have done in the past about Mont Blanc. And I watched it recently from Sophie, and it was incredible. So I'm happy to send you the link to that if needed.
A- Absolutely. Thank you. We've got a question from Andrew. He's asking about whether there are toilets en route or what's the dealio there.
So
Probably nature calls.
yeah, nature, and that's just what everyone does. Like I mentioned with the food, sometimes there will be a mountain hut you can stop along the way, which will have washrooms for everyone. But in general, I think the answer on that is going to be no. Um, yeah, if you need to use the washroom, you're out in nature. Everyone does it.
Yeah.
That's just how it is out there in the wild.
Perhaps try
Unfortunately,
and hold on
there isn't
and
washrooms. Yeah, you
wait
can try and hold
wait
on
till you're
too.
not in like one of those big wide valleys where everyone can see you, maybe. But yes. Um, yeah, but yeah, that's just like life is like on the trail, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And I think you did touch on dietary requirements, but we've just had
Mm.
someone asking about gluten-free meals. Is there?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're booking with us, it will ask you if you have any dietary requirements. Obviously, things like vegetarian and gluten-free are becoming extremely common is not the word I'm looking for, but definitely more frequent. We have a lot of travelers who have these dietary requirements. So you can let us know, and we will always let all the accommodations know beforehand, so you don't have to worry about that. And for the meals that aren't included, it usually means that you're staying like somewhere in one of those Swiss towns where there's a lot of options, and these are restaurants that will definitely be able to accommodate you on the nights that we're not providing a meal, let's say.
Yeah,
But yeah, as long as you let us know, we'll be on it.
yeah, too right. Um, just another question here from Chris is asking when 2027 dates will be released.
Very soon, hopefully.
I feel
This
like
is
2026 has only just started, but yes,
I know,
2027.
but I get it. People are just excited to go. They know it sells out quick, so they want to stay on it. And we always aim to have our dates out, usually around this summer. So definitely keep an eye out. We'll always try our very best to get them out as early as possible. I always suggest signing up for our newsletter, because Will and the team in marketing will send one out usually with as we're releasing these dates. So signing up for the newsletter is a great way to stay informed on how next season is looking.
Yeah, definitely. So yes, so stay tuned for that. Okay, well, unless there's any more questions, if anyone wants to type in the bottom of your screen, I've just got a last one for you, Matt, which is
Okay.
what's your next trip that you've got your eyes on?
So my next trip that I'm doing or hoping to do this year isn't actually an Alpine trip, but I will tell you what I'm doing, planning on doing this year, and then my next Alpine one as well.
Yes,
It looks like, oh, sorry. Oh, I'll leave it on this page actually, so you could, if anyone who needs it. Um, I think this year I'm aiming to do the a section of the Portuguese coastal Camino. Um,
very
so I'm
popular.
excited for that. It's going to be different. I'm excited to see it, though. I'm excited to try it. It's a huge thing for us. I think I've been to Portugal once, maybe as a child, so I'm excited to get back there and walking the coast just seems like such an amazing experience. And obviously, the Portuguese coast is going to be beautiful. So, although not alpine, I'm very excited for it. Um, and then I think alpine wise, definitely one of the big boys. I think I want Mont Blanc and Dolomites under my belt for sure.
Yeah, fair enough. They are spectacular. We also have speak of the Portuguese community, we do have a, a film of that recently. So again,
Mhm.
really inspiring. So I'm sure it's inspired you. Just got
Mhm.
a couple of more questions here. Irene's asked a really good one, which is, are there different grades of walks?
Yes, absolutely. So on each tour page, there will be a grading section, so you can go there and we'll go into a bit more detail about it. We use a 1 to 5 system, one being the easiest, five being the most difficult. The two that I have done that I went through today were both 4 out of 5s, and they were tough. And I would consider myself to be a bit active person, and they were tough. So I've yet to get a 5 under my belt, but it's definitely on my list. I think that if you've done a 4, you're ready for a 5. That's
Yes.
my motto is it might be one up, but if you've done one, you can probably do the other. We do have some more accessible options, definitely in the Dolomites, I know for sure, just off the top of my head. And some self-guided 3 out of 5s. So they still go around the Dolomites, just following different routes and different trails that might be a little bit more accessible for everyone. So although still challenging and you definitely still need to have a good level of fitness, we do try and accommodate as many people as possible because we want everyone to go see it. So we do have some, but yeah,
Definitely. And
they will
also,
be graded.
we also have the center-based tour in Meiringen, which is a
Mhm.
center-based tour. If you're not aware, it's basically you're in one hotel for the whole 7 days, and you do day walks from there.
Yeah.
So really
And
good, and yeah,
Sorry, I was interrupting. I'm sorry. I actually was in Myringen. It's where my Via Alpina started, and it's actually something I commented on when I was there. Is that I was like, you could just stay here and hike for days. Like, there's just so much to see. So if that is for you, that's an absolutely beautiful option as well.
yeah, and you could probably choose the different sorts of graded trips each day. If you want a hard one this day, if you want an easy one the next day, yeah. So,
Exactly.
but definitely get in touch with your local office to see what's the best for you. I've got another one from Josie who's asking a very good, potentially contentious question, which is for the best scenery, is it Dolomites VO1 or the Mont Blanc? Um, can I
I
just,
think that's
yeah, it's tricky.
it's
Uh,
personal, I think.
yeah, I'll give you my take because
Um,
I've actually done the Mont Blanc. And I do, firstly, I do highly recommend watching both of the videos because they are very extremely different sceneries and landscapes that you witness. But from my experience, I haven't done the Dolomites, but on the Mont Blanc, it's a mix between small villages in France, Switzerland, and Italy that you go through and mountain landscapes. Whereas on the Dolomites, I hear it's a lot more just nature, so less interactions with villages and things. So that might help you make a decision. Do you have anything to add, Matt?
not particularly. Like I said, unfortunately, not the two I've done yet.
Yeah.
It kills me, but very soon, hopefully. But from pictures and everything I've seen, I like you said, I think the Dolomites would be my choice first because of that reason. I love feeling remote and like I love feeling like I'm away from civilization.
Yes, it's the Dolomites are definitely flavor of the month, and it is extremely getting trickier to actually find a spot on a tour. So
Mm,
for both of Mont Blanc and Dolomites, probably the guided tours are probably the only option at the moment because the self-guided are all fully booked, I believe. So, um, but yes, good question, Josie. So thank you. Um, yep, that she said that's what she thought. Dolomites for the scenery. Spot on. Glad we could be of help. Fantastic. Well, unless you've got anything more to add, Matthew, hopefully we see everyone else out on the trails in Europe, exploring the Alps or the Dolomites or the Pyrenees, and just getting out there. If you do have any more questions, feel free to ask your local office. And we do have a few more webinars coming up later in the following weeks. We actually also have one that's how to prepare and how to pack for your Alpine hike. So Kate, who's very, very experienced, is going to be taking that one and she's going to be going into a bit more of the nitty-gritty details about what to put in your bag and I guess training tips and things like that. So make sure you stay tuned for that one. Thank you, Matthew. And we'll leave it there. Thanks, everyone.
perfect. Thanks, everyone.